my intention is to live a life that I love, then it brings you into loving the life that you live. And it's a total attitude shift. I lost
Quite a
60
lot.
pounds last year.
60
And
pounds.
weight
Yeah.
loss is not easy. It's a complex issue. Now, I started
Mm.
working with the ancestors back in like decades ago, like 30, 40
Mm.
years ago. And we're calling it epigenetics in a sense, we're releasing emotional
Mm.
DNA. And I'm telling you, it's shifted so many things in my life.
It makes logical sense if you think about it. Like if your family learns something, a fear or worry or what not to do, it gets passed down.
We have got the three brains. We've got the brain in the head, the gut brain that people have heard about now, and there's also a heart brain. If someone wants to try to lose weight, they've tried all kinds of different things, and it's because they haven't uplifted some of the deeper stuff within themselves. Like empathy tires us out, but compassion builds this inner strength and builds the power of the heart.
Hey everybody, it's Chris Duncan here. I'm so excited to be introducing you to my friend Isara Argent, who I refer to as Izzy. I'm excited to have you here. You're a co-author of mine now in this amazing transformation book in this series, and we're both just talking about how excited we are for this series to get out there and to change people's lives. So Izzy, I'd love you to share a little bit about your backstory and maybe why you chose to be in a book like this.
Well, I got a standard kind of education with a couple of master's degrees, and one's in counseling, one's in special ed. I worked as a special ed teacher for a while, and honestly, those kids gifted me with the ability to be a divine fool, because they're so loving and accepting and being in the present. If you know a Down syndrome child, for example, or a child
Mm.
with autism, they're clear and to the point. And I'd come in Monday morning, hello, Mrs. Argent, how are you? Like, okay, you started my week off right, so
Wow.
I learned a lot from them as
Wow.
well as me being able to teach them. And then,
That's so,
I kind of moved, go ahead. I moved
that's
into
just so cool. It's such a good perspective, we can learn from everyone. And I love that idea of being the divine fool,
that.
realizing we think we know more or something. But yeah, no, I love that.
But yeah, I mean, they would bring me into the present moment. And if you ever
Mm.
went to like a Special Olympics event or dance or something like that, you're entering into another world where it's
Mm.
non-judgmental, total acceptance, it's like it's really,
Mm.
a joy to have
Wow.
been in my past and to have allowed me to express myself really, really freely in some ways
Wow.
at some times. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's
And
awesome. And you're doing a lot of things with recode training and spiritual practices
I
and
have, yeah, I have a steady spiritual practice for myself. And
mm,
then the work with you, Chris, has, really made an impression on my life because I am calling my, besides having my website as my name, but if you go to my website, it's going to be True Choice Life. And it's a,
love
it's
it.
a work in progress, but
Love it.
True Choice Life kind of came from having these four prime choices that we have in life. And one of my favorites is living a life that you love. So I enjoy
Mm.
because my intention is to live a liff that I love, then it brings you into loving the life that you live already. And that's a total attitude shift, you
Yeah,
know? So,
it is.
so I,
It
yeah.
is.
So I
It
do
is.
help people with that somewhat, because the people that I am choosing to work with are, having might have wellness issues like I've had.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
had some mobility issues and sleep issues and weight issues. And
Mm.
of course you helped me also with the weight issues when we did,
Yeah.
we
I
did
remember.
yeah, we
You've
did
lost quite a lot of weight.
I lost
Quite a
60
lot.
pounds last year.
60
And
pounds.
60 pounds, weight
Yeah,
loss is not easy. It's a complex issue. And
sure.
some of what I've worked with in order to kind of loosen up in the area of letting go to my divinity is working with the ancestors. Now, I started
Mm.
working with the ancestors back in like decades ago, like 30, 40
Mm.
years ago.
Wow.
And the way it happened was I had gone to a seminar, I guess, or a workshop in Boston, and it had to do with special ed. in a sense because it was called One Brain. Kind of similar to maybe these people who've done brain gym. One Brain doesn't really exist anymore, but it was that same idea where you learn things that are going to help the students. Well, there was one practitioner there who uh, I decided, well, okay, I'm going to make an appointment with her because she was doing other things as well. And
Mm.
I drove from Maine to Rhode Island and had a session with this woman who took me back in this session to my mother's side 5 generations ago and released something. And she wasn't talking about it though. The technique that I use, we talk through it, but she just released whatever it was. And I woke up the next morning and I felt like, oh, my life is totally different. My plans have changed for the summer. And I'm going like, this is powerful stuff. So I just started
Yeah.
kind of working with the ancestors on my own for a long time, and really didn't know how to make that available to others until I met Lisa Thomas last year. And I've been taking her classes and getting coaching. One of her star coaches me every month. I just had a session with her today. And
Amazing.
I go into a deep meditation and we release stuff and whatever is kind of in the way. And it could be trapped in this lifetime. It could be,
Yeah.
inherited from an ancestor. And and we're calling it epigenetics in a sense, we're releasing emotional
Mm.
DNA. And I'm telling you, it's shifted so many things in my life. And that's what
Wow.
I use to shift to shift out of my terror of being on a podcast and then, showing myself to the world, I guess, like it's
Yeah.
easier to show myself to special ed kids. So someone with
Yeah.
Down syndrome who just loves me, as I am. Doesn't matter what
Yeah.
I do, but I'm bringing that into the here and now. You bring those things. It seems like that's ancestors are in the past, but they're really here with us. And as we shift them and everybody in between and the downline. So it's kind of like working with the upline and the downline. So your children don't have to be stuck with the stuff that you brought along.
Mm.
And it is kind of making a better world, really.
Yeah. Well, I got into that stuff through Bert Hellinger's work and
Mhm.
constellations and there's a lot of research showing that we hold on to generational patterns and traumas up to
Exactly.
7 they can prove in ourselves. It's real. And so
Oh,
I
it
love
is.
that. I
Yeah,
love that
it
you're into
is.
that.
Yeah.
And anyone listening, it's just it makes logical sense if you think about it. Like if your family learns something, a fear or worry or whatnot to do, it gets passed down. It's a trait and it's there. And you see it in the animal kingdom as well. Traits get passed along. So, Izzy, it's really important. I think that the important thing that you've added though is that you're talking about true choice because a lot
Yes,
of people will
absolutely.
just continually try to fix and fix and fix. So I'd love you to explain how you relate to a true choice. You obviously talked about the 4 choices we use in MagMind, but we could talk about those. But what does true choice mean?
So a true choice is when you can find some technique and the way that we've used it, in magnetic mind is through the innocence meditation. But
Mm,
just going through like a guided meditation or even a breathing exercise that once you get kind of used to it, you can just kind of drop down into your heart. And
mm,
in your heart, it's a powerful place in our being.
yeah,
We have got the 3 brains. We've got the brain in the head, the gut brain that people have heard about now, and there's also a heart brain. There's lots of neurons and neuronal energy, and the heart is what circulates everything through us. It's connected with the lungs and the breathing and the nervous system. It's,
yeah,
just
yeah,
it's just a great place to just sink down into and feel as though you can make your true choices from there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then like just there's things called the land of plenty or the land of possibilities, and you can just kind of like dip into that, and just see what's
yeah.
possible, and
Most people
beyond.
don't know what their true choice is. And for those of you never heard this before, a choice is a different word for a goal, but you use the word choice because you're actively deciding that's how you'll have it. And you know it's true because you just want it for its sake. You don't want it because of how others will see you or because of what it will fix, or you just want it for its sake. It's just true. And so, Izzy, you've got a great meditation that I have a version of as well, but you've got a great one, the innocence meditation. And people can actually get a version of your innocence meditation. And we're going to put a link under this video where you can get it, returning to that place of peace or presence of innocence, and then asking your heart, stepping into that land of possibilities and saying, well, what would I love? If I could have it any way, how would I love it? And it's very important, isn't it? Because if you don't connect with what you would love, you simply do the ancestral work from a place of problem solving. And, there's nothing wrong, I guess, with spending your life fixing up ancestors, but you don't get to experience, what you want in this lifetime. So I love that you're doing that. I
Right,
really,
right. So, yeah, so putting them together is going to be really powerful.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm still finishing level 2 of my certification with, she
wow,
calls it Soul Awakening Method. And
amazing,
so I'm in level 2 where we're doing some amazing things in
amazing.
level 2, and I get to practice on people and develop a clientele. And it's just been profoundly uplifting for me in my
Yeah,
life. And people get to a stuck place, they don't know what it is,
yeah, that's
and
right.
yeah, they don't
So if
know.
someone's listening and they're going, you know what, I'm feeling called to this. How can they get a session with you on this stuff? Like, do a little pitch. Like, if someone's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
what
yeah.
can
So
yeah.
say if someone wants to is trying to lose weight, they've tried all kinds of different things. I hear all these stories all the time. I've tried this, and this, and and now I'm gaining it all back, and it's because they haven't uplifted some of the deeper stuff within themselves.
Mm,
I recently eliminated the feeling of needing to stuff myself. And I went back to I don't know, I went back to something like an ancient, like an ancient life form, really, where
yeah, well,
if you're a bird or an amoeba or something like that, you maybe you have to consume many times your weight
mm,
to survive. So there's these very old ancient survival patterns. Who knows where they live in us exactly?
yeah,
I don't know, but I had that
yeah.
going on that I would want to eat until I was over full, and it
Wow,
didn't feel good even, but I'd still do it. And so alleviating that is really making a difference for me.
nice.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
if you're listening to this and you want to, go and have one of these sessions with Izzy, I would highly recommend her. We've hung out in events. I've seen your body transformation. We've hung out in my inner circle, connected. You're someone that plays full out with this work, and I'll
I
be
do.
more than
I
happy
do.
to. You really do recommend what you're doing. And so we'll put those links underneath this video. So if you're listening to this and you're inspired, do that. But also, you need to check out our Superconscious Transformation book, where there's myself, Izzy, and 11 other people who have written an amazing chapter on how you can transform by using your superconscious. And it's an incredible book, and it's going to change your life. So you really should get it. The links underneath this video. So Izzy, we're coming up to the end of our time. Is
Yeah.
there any last comment or piece of information you'd love to leave with anybody who's, listened or watched this far into our podcast?
Well, I'll just say that one of the things that I teach that is a free teaching is a breathing exercise where we're we're not breathing out the negative and breathing in the positive. It's the other way around. We're using our heart as a transformer, where we might breathe out our own suffering or pain or tension, and then breathe out love
Mm,
in the world. And then we can go on with that. Pema Chodron thought this. She's a Tibetan Buddhist teacher, and she taught about compassion. And so compassion is very much needed in the world right now. And so you can take that further once you feel like you've gotten somewhere with it for your own self, breathing in your own stuff and breathing out love, then you can breathe in other people's suffering or just what you
mm,
imagine even is their suffering. You read it think, what can I do about the world? Well, breathe in suffering and breathe out love for the world, for your community, for your family, for yeah. So I
wow.
just want to, leave with like empathy tires us out, but compassion builds this inner strength and builds the power of the heart.
I love that. I love where your heart's at, and I love your chapter in our book as well. I love everything you're up to. So I'll put links to everything that you can go connect with Izzy under this video. If you're listening to this, we deeply care about you. Would love you to get a copy of our book. It will change your life. Stay focused, stay super conscious, stay in your end result, and we will talk to you very, very soon on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks, Jeff.